name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful time, for allowing us to have this review session in preparation for our board exams next year. And hopefully, Father, you bless all of us. You bless our instructor, our reviewer, so that she may have the strength to facilitate our review sessions tonight and for the coming nights. And all of this we ask in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, James. So we can start sharing the screen. Okay. So I hope you have your pen and paper because the examples are not there. So it will be given siguro in some, what's this? In our upcoming or yung mga successive uh, mock exams. So the examples will not be given. So I would just like to explain or provide enlightenment according to sino na ba yung nagsabi ng enlightenments? Let's see. So my assumption is you already listened to my discussion on the resolution. So I explained one by one the different whereas clauses in that particular resolution number 3, series of 2024. And so this is the annex. So it's connected with that resolution. So it means that this will be taking effect for the July 2025 board exam. So I think it's still July, right? Or otherwise, August. So we have like 6 to 7 months preparation. Okay, so this is called table of specifications or the TOS. Okay. How will I? Okay. So hang on. Pull out my own copy. Moment.
Paantay lang po saglit. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, to keep you waiting. So let's look at the first one, which is 45%. So this is the biggest, or this is the longest component of your board exam. So can you hear? I hope you can hear me well. So it's environmental planning processes, techniques, and strategies. So this will be provided, or this will be given on day one of your board exam. So I already explained why it's PQF in that recording. So why it's level 6. So I also explained about the nature of Bloom's taxonomy. Okay. Someone can tell me if you still remember what is Bloom's taxonomy. Do you still remember? So you're seeing remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating. So the sixth one, it's the most complex, okay? And you can see here the outline that 20%, okay? The first one there is okay, under Bloom's taxonomy, there are topics and competencies, and then the second column is weight, and then number of items. So it means that the percentage there is translated to number of items in the third column. Okay, and then the distribution, and because taxonomy is about distribution of the questions, for example, for the 40 items planning information management question, 40 items means that 2 plus 8 plus 14 plus 13 plus 3. So are you able to get that? 24, 34. Okay. So is that 40 items? Can you see? Right? Okay. So what do we mean by planning information management? So what do we expect from that particular topic? It focuses on the systematic handling of data and information throughout the planning process. So because the subject is environmental planning processes, techniques, and strategies. Okay, if you would like to remember that as PTS, okay, EPPTS. This includes identifying mandated plans, understanding legal and institutional frameworks, and effectively using tools like mapping and data collection techniques to inform environmental planning. So, number one, definitions, elements, and stages in the planning process. So, it has the following subtopics. Okay? We start with mandated plans. Okay. So 1.1 there says identify the mandated plans at different levels of government. So mandated plans are those legally required to be formulated, including national plans. What are these? The Philippine Development Plan, the regional plans, or the RPFP at the regional level. So RPFP means Regional Physical Framework Plan. And then we have the local plans, like at the provincial level, we have the PDPFP, and at the municipal and city level, we have the land use plans, the comprehensive land use plans. Okay, so for example, the question could be, what mandated plan ensures that local land use complies with national policies? Okay, that's why I asked Jen to announce earlier to prepare pen and paper because I did not provide there. So this was the copy provided by the PRC, okay, distributed, and I think you can find that also in their website. So yeah, let's take some examples. It may not be perfect examples because I'm just thinking uh at the top of my head. So if the sample MCQ or the multiple choice question would ask you, what mandated plan ensures that local land use complies with national policies? A. National Urban Development Plan. B. Comprehensive Land Use Plan. C. Philippine Development Plan. And D. Barangay Action Plan or Barangay Development Plan. So, but you already have a keyword in the MCQ which says ensures that local land use complies with national policies. So naturally, you can readily answer it's letter B because the CLUP ensures alignment of land use at the local level with national frameworks. So that easy, okay? So that's how we answer questions on 1.1 because it also states there now for the 40 items there would be 2 questions about remembering because remembering means that you are just defining okay some concepts. Understanding means it's a higher level, you know, of a concept would be added. Perhaps could be like a process that, you know, like a steps in the land use plan, land use planning. And then applying could be a case, okay? There's a problem and you need to provide a solution in that particular order. Okay, and then analyzing means could also be a problem. And there are some information that you need to leverage on to inform your decision-making process. So, and then evaluating could be which tools are you going to use to analyze a problem, and then creating when the question revolves around designing, but there are some there are some questions like sub-questions also that would lead to how you would provide solution to a particular problem. But it should be a higher level of understanding should be applied. Okay? So that's how it goes with the Bloom's taxonomy. And then for 1.2, so it means that the 1.1 would be distributed like they should be basic questions because there are 2 items for remembering and there's 1 item for understanding. So I'm not really sure if this will be followed because it's very specific about the number of questions that would be asked. Okay, so if you ask me, is it safer to assume that all the questions would be analyzing? I think it's the safest thing to do, that you're understanding the concepts, you're understanding the process and the strategies that should be applied. So that's the safest way, and not just memorizing and the definition or just memorizing the process but not really understanding that. And then you would be using some like mnemonics, so could be very dangerous to be relying on those techniques and, you know, in test taking techniques. So it should be higher, like you're even comfortable to talk about that verbally when when you you're not just required to write that, but you are required to discuss that, okay, verbally with your peers, with your with other departments within a local government or within national government, and then to probably to legislators, to local chief executives. So would be good if you're prepared to, to undertake all the different categories of the Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, because it's all about categories. So 1.2, okay, explain the contents and legitimization process of required plans. So it means that planning legitimization involves securing approval from regulatory bodies such as local councils for CLUPs, or the DSUD, or the different, the different agencies comprising the provincial land use committee. Okay, so to ensure compliance with higher level policies, like for example, when you're submitting your CLUP for review. So I think there's a memo circular from the SUD that says they need to review first as to the requirements before forwarding, or before forwarding it to the PLOC for review. So a sample MCQ there could be: which body is responsible for legitimizing CLUPs in the Philippines? So A, for example, the local council is Sangguniang, or the local council. B, NEDA. C, could be DNR. And D, the SUD. So who legitimizes CLUP? So is it the Sangguniang? Okay, Sangguniang reviews and approves CLUP. Is it the Sangguniang? Okay. Then so you would be prepared to answer all types of questions like that MCQ under 1.2. And then and if you notice, it's 1.5%. So and then it's all accumulated under understanding. So you expect questions not about definition of terms on this 1.2, on this component, when you are asked to explain the contents and legitimization process of required plans across various government tiers. So we would be doing, we're not yet in the development or in the environmental planning processes. So we would go into this, and we would be discussing, and we will dedicate a huge amount of time on this particular topic, because it's 45%. So 1.3 is differentiate comprehensive land use planning from comprehensive development planning. So CLUP versus CDP. So it's very specific in 1.3. So we don't have any choice but, master the CLUP and the CDP processes. So CLUP focuses on what? Spatial planning, space, about land classification, about zoning, while CDP emphasizes on sectoral planning, like the socioeconomic goals and investment prioritization, etc. So you need to be very familiar on the very nature of CDP versus CLUP. So if the question would be asked, like, what's the main focus of CLUP? And then it would provide options like A, socioeconomic strategies; B, physical and spatial planning; and then C, public investment prioritization; D, urban resilience strategies. But there's a keyword there. It is asking about main focus. Okay, so a main focus. So you could answer B, physical and spatial planning, because CLUP deals with land classification and zoning, emphasizing spatial development. So you need to be very careful about spotting the keywords in a particular question. Because anyway, if you're not able to answer quickly, you can run through the ABCD options, and then you can eliminate. After elimination, at least you only have like, normally in a board exam, there are two very close answers. So that's where you can get some clues on how to answer the question. Okay, so 1.4, we go to 1.4, apply tools, apply the appropriate tools for undertaking data collection and conducting the corresponding qualitative and quantitative analysis. So planning requires methods like surveys, like GIS, statistical analysis to gather and interpret data, among others. So, question might be like, which tool is best suited for spatial analysis in land use planning? So you need to analyze space. So, if the options would be like A, SWOT analysis, B, GIS, C, stakeholder interviews, D, socioeconomic surveys. So answer would be B, GIS mapping, because GIS mapping enables the spatial visualization and analysis of land use patterns. So it could be more complex question than that. So I'm just citing some questions here and some options. So you can have a bird's eye view on which questions to expect for each item. We can go to 1.5. This could be very long. So 1.5, name the various mapping tools in environmental planning. So mapping tools include GIS, topographic maps, and thematic maps, analytical maps to represent environmental data effectively. So if the MCQ would be, which mapping tool is commonly used for analyzing topographical features? So you already have keywords there. So what are those? It's a mapping tool, and then another keyword, analyzing topographical features. So if there's no topographic map in the choices, like for example, A, thematic maps, so it could be very general, and then B, GIS, so it's still general, and then C, contour maps, and then D, satellite imagery. So you can answer C because it's the most specific. You know, these are contour maps, represent elevation and terrain, aiding physical planning. Okay, so 1.6, we go to 1.6, it says recommend the appropriate, okay, if you can go to the next page then. But naputol yun no? So recommend the appropriate maps, okay? Can you see required in the preparation of sectoral plans? So sectoral planning may require hazard maps land capability maps, and demographic overlays. So we're in 1.6 Gen. So for example, it will ask you which map is essential for disaster risk planning or DRR planning, or yeah. So A, hazard map; B, population density map; C, land capability map; D, climate map. So obviously answer would be hazard map. Because hazard maps identify risk-prone areas, aiding in disaster preparedness. So things like that could be more complex question. For the 1.7, it's 3%, so 6 items. It's big, diba? 6 items is, yeah, you can imagine that 3% is not 3 items. 3% in this 45% environmental planning process strategies, okay, and strategies. So techniques and strategies. Can you imagine 3% is 6 items? It's not 3 items. So that's how we compute. So we don't expect that, for example, 70% is the passing rate, and then you got 69, and then you tell me, Mom, I got 69. So I only lack 1 item. So maybe isa lang yung mali ko. No, because 1% is not 1 item. So it's not, depends on the weight of that subject area. So pag nag-fall siya, yung hindi mo pinasa ay nag-fall siya in the processes, techniques, and strategies, then could be more items needed for you to pass. Okay? So kailangan, because this falls on the first day and you need to be very enthusiastic, you need to have a good, a very positive outlook, a positive feeling. Everything should be about positivity on day 1, because when you get that right, the second day, it would be easier, a lot easier for all of you. So letter 1.7, we are on 1.7, integrate research for planning and recommend further studies as required. So integrating academic and field research enriches planning, recommending studies based on gaps and trends, for example. Like, MCQ could be as simple as, or it's more complex, like 10 times more complex than this. So at least we can contextualize at this stage of our review. So what's a critical reason to integrate research into planning? So A, to reduce cost of implementation; B, to justify political decisions; C, to base plans on evidence and emerging trends; D, to simplify processes. But the question, it's asking about, all could be good, but it's asking about what is a critical reason. So that's the first keyword already, or keywords, or key phrase already. To integrate research into planning. So it means that your plan should be informed by research and investigation. So among those items that I just enumerated, like reducing cost of implementation, so you can already strike that out. You can eliminate that. To justify political decisions, you can eliminate that. And then to simplify processes, are you able to simplify the process when you're integrating research? It could be more complex than that. So because it depends, it's a case-to-case basis regarding complexity. So you strike out D. And even if you don't know, as long as even if you don't know the answer, even if you're not really quite sure about your answer, as long as you're good, as long as you mastered the art of elimination, then you can even perfect your board exam. You can top. Diba, James? You can top. Why not? So, as long as,
Sana po.
yes, as long as you're able to eliminate, gagamitan nyo siya ng, number one, you should be able to spot keywords. And then dun sa test question ninyo, you make that as your scratch paper. Dun kayo magsulat. You should know the meaning of asterisk. Halimbawa, nag-asterisk kayo, or nag-check kayo, or nag-wrong kayo, or nag-slash, or forward slash kayo. And by this time, you should already know, and you should have identified already which symbols to use. So, ibig ba sabihin, when you cross that out, it means that you have answered in your test question, but you haven't transferred the answer to your answer sheet. Parang, parang finreeze mo muna yun, and you skip that first, and you proceeded to the next number, so that you would be alerted that should be skipped first because you're not really certain about your answer. Pero dapat sinagutan nyo na rin siya so that you already have uh you already have idea that you need to go back because you already found the correct answer in the succeeding questions, because that's how board exam works. That if you haven't, for example, 1 to 10, you were not able to answer 5 items there. I mean 6 to 10, and most likely the 6 to 10 items, you can find that as long as, kasi they are related to each other, and you can find that, and then pagbalikan mo na siya, and then you realize your initial answer was wrong, and then so you change that, and then when you're able to change that, transfer that answer immediately to the answer sheet, kasi baka hindi mag-align yung normal, kaya ganon madaming bumabaksak because pagbalikan nila yung in-skip na question, nagkamali na sila ng numbering because they did not have enough tools to to identify which questions were skipped. Akala nila number 4 yun. When you made a mistake in numbering because you skipped some items, paksak na kayo. Kasi magbubura kayo. Imagine kung ilan na yung you just realize after answering 20 questions, that would be very dangerous. So, kailangan you have to be 200% focused. Dapat may presence of mind kayo 200%. Meaning that the normal presence of mind is inadequate in board exams. Okay? It should be double that. The energy, mental and physical should be 200%. Because you cannot rely kapag masumakit na yung ulo ninyo, and then that will reduce the energy that you have. So at least kung 200%, ma-reduce man yun, you're still in that zone, in that particular requirement of presence of mind of 100%. Presence of mind or focus. I hope you got me correctly. Okay? So, so my answers, I would like to go back to 1.7. When you integrate research, it means you're investigating, and it means that you're not just guessing, making a guessing game in your plan. So it means that this plan and the corresponding strategies or surrounding strategies should be informed by something else, by data, or by evidence-based information. You inform that plan. So when you're able to do that, and so you call that research, right? Because you've done something. You look into secondary data, or maybe you conducted some stakeholder or public consultation to gather primary information or data. So, and that makes research more effective and more effective for you when you're answering these board questions. So I'd like to go back to the question I mentioned earlier. What's the critical reason to integrate research into planning? So what's the underlying reason why you need to do that? Of course, the answer should be letter C, to base plans on evidence and emerging trends, right? You can only do that through research. So, evidence-based planning ensures informed decisions that align with societal needs, right? So it could be a motherhood statement, but it should help you in answering those questions correctly without doubt. Okay? So I want to go to development planning, letter B. So I need to drink water. Just a moment. Mamaya, I'll just finish letter B. So it's 30%. Okay, 30% means in this context or in this subject area, processes, techniques, and strategies, PTS, it's 30%. Okay. And yung nauna is 20%, right? Planning information management, how you conduct planning or how you would like to gather data and information. But here, it's development planning. So, development planning focuses on creating a comprehensive strategy to improve societal and economic aspects and more. It involves identifying development sectors. So what are those development sectors? Agriculture, economic, social, etc. Analyzing the logical sequence of planning and implementing strategies to achieve balanced development. So this section, development planning in general, emphasizes integrating various components of development into a cohesive and actionable plan. So, number one, it says concepts and processes in the preparation of the CDP. So, we're in the CDP. Well, comprehensive development planning or CDP ensures, or the process of the CDP process ensures coordinated and systematic integration of development activities across sectors because it's a sectoral plan, as I mentioned earlier. So what are those sectors? Like health sector, education, economy, and more, right? So the focus is on inclusive growth and sustainable outcomes in general. So, in 1.1, identify the different development sectors to be covered in CDP. So, if the question if the question is, the CDP typically addresses sectors including A, health and social welfare, and then B, education and training, or sorry, and okay, sige, I'll repeat again. So, which of the following, okay, I'll make it more complex. Which of the following is not a common sector? Okay, so there's a negative term there, something that will confuse you. Which of the following is not a common sector covered in a CDP? Okay. So you already have a keyword there, not a common sector. And then C of CDP, A, education, B, infrastructure, C, cultural heritage, D, corporate profit goals. So you can already answer that substantially, like you don't need to eliminate, right? You don't need to eliminate because you know that corporate profit goals is something like it does not ring a bell to you probably, or it's so specific because a sector, although it's specific as education, but it covers a number of subtopics under education, right? We have elementary, high school, etc. And of course, we also need to compute for the space needed for the year like this. If we do projection, we project the number of classrooms or the number of teachers. So a lot to be discussed within the education sector, and that makes it general. And so, but it's still we can still say it's specific because it says education and then infra and then cultural heritage. So the answer is corporate profit goals because CDP focuses on public welfare and development. Okay, even in our 1987 Constitution, we have the general welfare clauses to the best interest of the community or the public. Okay, so and not corporate goals. So this is the focus of the focus of CDP is on public welfare and development, and so the answer is letter D, which because it's not private corporate goals that we are after for in formulating CDP. Okay, and we go to 1.2. Okay, analyze the comprehensive development planning process in general and each of the steps in the logical sequence of the process in particular. Such a mouthful, right? That when you look at it, wow, so we need to analyze. And so you're seeing the Bloom's taxonomy, the question spread toward the end. So it means analysis, evaluation toward that 6 items. So sayang naman yung 6 items sa that's 3%. When you get 60 or 67, so you need 6 items here to pass, right? So you need this one. So every item, every percentile of these items here you're seeing on the TOS matters, di ba? Each item matters. So how do we deal with that particular question? How do we analyze? So for example, analyzing the CDP planning process in general and each of the steps in the logical sequence of the process in particular. So that's 1.2. But the CDP process includes you do situational analysis. So meaning that when you're doing situational analysis or what we call the SA, we need to understand the current state of our locality. And then when we're doing visioning, we need to setting our vision to long-term goals. And then sectoral analysis means that we need to assess the needs of individual sectors. And then when we formulate our strategies, we need to identify actionable steps. And then when we do M&E or monitoring and evaluation, we need to ensure continuous improvement of our planning, our strategies, our PPAs. So, for example, the MCQ is which step of the CDP process involves defining long-term goals? So you already have a keyword there, key phrase, meaning long-term goals. So I already mentioned about what is visioning, right? You're setting long-term goals. So letter A, situational analysis. So, okay, you eliminate. Okay, hang on. Siguro ito. And then, if you're not sure, then bibilugan mo siya or i-hold mo muna siya and you do some marking, underline, or you just encircle it to make to alert you that should be your initial answer. And so monitoring evaluation, that should not be the answer. You can strike that out or you can eliminate that because it's about, ensuring continuous improvement. You're measuring some impacts there. So you eliminate that. And then sectoral analysis is you assess the needs. You assess the demands of individual sectors. So it's not defining long-term goals. So when you have eliminated those three items there, then you get the answer. But you can answer that substantially, meaning that even without elimination process, you can already identify because you studied that and you understood that very well, right? So because visioning focuses on setting a clear long-term goal for the community, okay? So we can go to number 2. Okay, I'll just get, kasi I postponed getting water for you just a moment. Thank you again for waiting. I'm not sure if you're still awake, but I would like to assume you're awake. So number 2, tools and techniques in sectoral and intersectoral development planning. That's 8%. So can you imagine 16 points? And then all all those questions in the Bloom's taxonomy are all spread. Meron lahat input except for the design aspect, right? So we have 3, 2, 4, 3, 4, right? Equivalent to 16 items. So what are involved here? Okay, sectoral and intersectoral development planning focuses on integrating various analytical tools, methodologies, and approaches to address specific development goals and overcome challenges. And of course, this requires collaboration across different sectors to ensure harmonized planning outcomes. So under 2.1, it says identify analytical tools and techniques to derive various indicators of development, problems, and constraints. So what are these analytical tools anyway? It could be as simple as SWOT analysis. And then there's also a more complex tool, which we call the cost-benefit analysis. And then we have the GIS that would help identify and address indicators of development. So all these tools that I've mentioned. And then how about the constraints? Opportunities as well. These tools are vital for decision making in development projects. So we have a sample. Okay, I'm thinking about any question regarding this. Could be which of the following tools is commonly used to assess the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of development project. So it's so easy. Because in number 2, you can see there that there will be 3 questions that are about identification, right? So could be because you already have keywords there. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that's simply SWOT. So that's a bonus question, like A, cost-benefit analysis, B, SWOT analysis, C, GIS, D, regression analysis. So answer is SWOT analysis because it was already spelled out. So it could also be, there could be questions like as easy as that. So answer is SWOT analysis because it evaluates internal and external factors influencing a project. So we can go to 2.2, assess problems and constraints. opportunities and challenges for development. So this involves identifying key barriers, and leveraging opportunities for effective development planning. So challenges such as resource constraints, environmental degradation, and urban sprawl probably, that must be addressed strategically. So what's the sample MCQ here? So like the question could be, what does constraint refer to in the context of development planning? Do you know? So A, opportunities for innovation, for example. B, barriers that limit progress. C, regulatory requirements. D, economic growth potential. But because we're just identifying the MCQ, like you already have a keyword there, constraint. So what do we mean by constraint in development planning? These are barriers that limit progress. So you have an answer, letter B, barriers that limit progress. So it's something like that. Because constraints are obstacles that hinder the implementation of development plans. So you need to be very familiar, and that's why in the link that we provided you regarding the like ebooks, and there I think we've included there the like the is it the alphabets of planning, or I forgot about that book written by the former member of the PRB, the late Dean, or the late PRB, Honorable Dolores Enrigas. So she has a book there, so we've included that. So it also pays to be very familiar of the planning terminologies like this. Okay, so we can go to 2.3, apply analytical tools, models, and methods relevant to the process. So let me just pull out that book of Dolores Enriquez. I think she wrote that book, Language. Okay, the language of environmental planning in the Philippines. So you can look for that ebook, that PDF from our from our collection of books or PDFs that could help you like during the season, walang holiday for for 2025, you know examination or examinees. Okay, wala tayong so we need to stand with our goals, to have momentum, like what was it Mr. Fabay mentioned in the GC, in the group chat, all right? We have to have momentum. He was so correct, isn't it? So let me continue with that. Where are we? 10. Okay. So, but anyway, yeah, I think 2.3, apply analytical tools, models, and methods relevant to the process. So it's 2%, 2%. So there are 4 questions there. Yeah, applying models such as, for example, logical framework approach, or the LFA, do you know that? Or decision-making matrix, or cost-effectiveness analysis instead of cost-benefit analysis, ensures that planning processes are data-driven or data-driven and focused on measurable outcomes. So we have an MCQ like let me think about that. Number one, or which model focuses on aligning objectives, inputs, outputs, and activities in development planning? So A, logical framework approach. B, SWOT analysis. C, cost-benefit analysis. D, root cause analysis. So, but it already provided you some keywords there, which model focuses on aligning objectives, inputs, outputs. So it's like a logic that you have these objectives, and then you have these inputs, like for example, because your objective could be to capacitate all planners within the LGU and other contiguous, LGUs that make up that district. For example, so the input should be a training module, or that the training itself, and then the output was, so what would be the output of that? Capacitated, right? That's the immediate outcomes. And of course there are some intermediate outcomes that would lead to the to achieving your mission, your vision, etc. So it's kind of a logical process. So we're not talking about SWOT anymore here. So you can strike that out, you can eliminate that. Cost benefits, so we're not talking about cost benefit here, because cost benefit analysis here is when you're this is a tool to provide or to determine how, how beneficial the projects are using this tool. Like for example, if it's an infra project. And then root cause analysis, because it did not mention about any problem that we need to solve. So the closest answer there is the logical framework approach, or the logical framework, the log frame, if you are familiar with that. Anyway, I will be also discussing, I will provide a dedicated lecture on these tools. So the logical frameworks structures development plans to ensure alignment and consistency between goals and activities. So anyway, I will be providing enlightenment on all this one. Okay, so next, letter number 3. Jen, so okay, you focus on that. Sectoral development plans at different levels, following the steps. Okay, next page, prescribed by the government. So it's 7%, 7%. So there are 14 items there. Okay, so you're looking at the TOS, right? The TOS now. So table of specifications. Now I hope PRB would be able to, provide very close, or at least this in this particular context, like, because this needs to be applied for the 2025 boards. So 7%. And 3.1 says, examine the context and rationale for public sector planning. Context and rationale. What's public sector planning? Public sector planning involves aligning government actions and policies with the needs of the society, or of society. It's based on a structured rationale, such as ensuring equitable resource distribution, addressing public welfare. So you're hearing again public welfare matter, and fostering economic development. Key contexts include regulatory frameworks, national development goals, and sector-specific strategies, among others. So that's public sector planning. Okay? So you already know the context of public sector. So if the MCQ would be, which of the following best describes the primary rationale for public sector planning? So you need to really, you need to have a good understanding of what's public sector planning. Letter A, profit generation for government-owned corporation. Are we talking about government-owned corporations? Letter B, equitable resource distribution and addressing societal needs. Pwede, di ba? Letter C, expansion of private sector influence in public policy. We're not talking about public policy, so strike that out. And then, letter D, reduction of government expenditure. We're not talking about expenditure here. So, even if you're not sure about your answer, yung natira, di ba? Na you're you're quite sure about those eliminated. Pag may natira, you don't need to doubt that because you're more certain about those eliminated rather than those that remain as a possible answer. So, answer would be B, equitable resource distribution and addressing societal needs, because public sector planning focuses on improving societal welfare by equitably distributing resources and addressing community needs. But of course, there would be more complex questions than this. So I'm just providing MCQs that are general in nature, so that when we when I start lecturing about processes, strategies, or techniques and strategies, you would be more comfortable already because I already gave you a bird's eye view on this particular items within the TOS. So, what else? 3.2, okay. Identify the different sectors and subsectors of development. So, do you know that? That development sectors include education, health, agriculture, infrastructure, and energy, etc. So, what are the subsectors? Subsectors focus on specialized areas within these fields, such as renewable energy. What is that all about? Okay, within the energy sector, but energy, you think energy sector is a major sector or a main sector, and then subsectors, there are subsectors under it. So it depends on the questions, or basic education within education sector, or recognizing these divisions helps target specific needs within larger development goals. So for example, so maybe you would be able to understand sectors and subsectors because under CLUP, social sector would include many subsectors, like education is a subsector under I'm talking about CLUP. Under education is under the social sector, and then yeah, social welfare. What else under education sector? Under social sector, health, isn't it? So, and a lot more subsectors under the social sector. Now, so for example, the question would answer, which of the following is a subsector under the health sector? So, keyword, it's asking about subsector under health. So, parang A, primary healthcare, B, transportation. So, transportation infra. So, you can already eliminate that. Renewable energy, eliminate. And then food security, it's under agricultural or economic, right? So, answer is A, primary healthcare, because it's a subsector focused on foundational medical services under the health sector. So 3.3, identify sectoral objectives, targets, strategies, programs, and projects peculiar to the development sector. Is it complicated? So I'll repeat again. Identify sectoral objectives, targets, strategies, programs, and projects peculiar to the development sector. So each sector has distinct objectives and strategies, such as increasing literacy rates in education. Another is reducing maternal mortality in health, or achieving sustainable energy use in the energy sector or infra. Then programs and projects are the operational aspects of these strategies, translating broad goals into actionable outcomes. So if the question would ask, what's an example of a strategy for the energy sector? Okay, because under number 3.3, yeah, there are four questions here. So it's in the, okay, let me see the blooms. So is it remembering, understanding? Remembering and understanding. So just a moment. Okay, yeah, remembering, understanding taxonomy. So A, for example, building more schools in rural areas. So I'm talking about what's an example of a strategy for the energy sector. So A, building more schools in rural areas. So it's about building schools, and then promoting renewable energy. So probably that's the correct answer. Letter C, implementing mass vaccination programs. So it's under health. Enhancing food processing technologies. So it's under economic sector. All right. We have also other subsectors under economic, agriculture, fisheries, diba? Tourism also. So answer is promoting renewable energy adoption, because this strategy aligns with energy sector objectives, focus on sustainability and efficiency. And so we expect more complex questions than this one. Okay, so 4.1, analyze. Okay. We are already on 4. Okay, indicators to monitor the plan, and provide inputs to succeeding planning cycles. So we have 9.5%, 19 questions, spread through yeah, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. Okay. So so the first one there is analyze the success indicators in monitoring the plan. So success indicators measure the achievement of goals within a plan, and this can include quantitative metrics like project completion rates, beneficiary reach or economic growth percentages, and qualitative measures such as stakeholder satisfaction or environmental impact. So effective analysis ensures timely adjustments to enhance outcomes. So if we have a question like, which of the following is an example of a success indicator in a housing plan, or how they call your housing plan in the LGU? So A, number of houses constructed, right? So you already have you already have keywords there. And then B, total project budget allocation. So you can eliminate. And then average age of project managers, things like that, or project engineers, you eliminate that. And then total project advertisement cost. So you can eliminate all of those, because the one that has remained on number of houses constructed as a success indicator in like for example, the one of DSUD, like 1 million housing houses, or when we try to provide solution on housing backlog in the Philippines. So we have that specific project of DSUD. So, and one of the success indicators could be the number of houses constructed. So the number of houses constructed is a direct quantitative indicator of the success of a housing development plan. But of course, there are still other, um, indicators that could be mentioned besides just the quantity aspect of a successful, or a the success indicator of a plan for in within the housing sector. So we can also go to 4.2, which is evaluate the plan per its input, output, outcome, and impact. So 3.5%, 7 questions. When we evaluate a plan, it involves analyzing some components. And because these components were already enumerated there, the input, output, outcome, and impact. So inputs I already mentioned, like when you are allocating some resources like funds, manpower. So these are inputs in a particular plan or project. So outputs could be the immediate deliverables I also mentioned earlier, like for example, training sessions conducted. So you count that. And then outcomes, these are the short-term results, because it has also, like outcomes could be short or medium term results, or so it could be you can mention increased skills level because of the training session that had been conducted. And then impact should be the long-term effects or long-term goals. So for example, livelihoods or improved livelihoods. So this systematic evaluation identifies the effectiveness and sustainability of a plan. So what does, for example, MCQ is, what does the outcome in plan evaluation represent? So outcome, right? I already mentioned that. A, for example, resources allocated to the plan. So to the plan, because you have invested like manpower and then some funds there, right? Funds. And letter B, long-term societal changes. Long-term, is it long-term? Or letter C, short-term results. D, immediate deliverables. So you can already eliminate because outcome is not about resources, because those are inputs. And then you can eliminate long-term societal because this is about impact. And then you eliminate the immediate deliverables, is it, or the short-term results achieved, because these two are very close, and confusion would arise because of these two remaining terminologies, like short-term results achieved, because outcomes could be short-term also, and immediate deliverables could be short-term, because immediate deliverables could be right after the training session. So there was already some outcomes, there's some effect. So what should be the answer? So there you go. So that's where, even for very simple questions like this one, could be could pose a challenge when you're taking the board exam. Okay, so but outcomes refer to the short-term results or changes resulting from a plan's implementation. So you can answer short-term results achieved because immediate deliverables defines short-term results, so it could be related but not the same. But you need to stick to the game plan that it consists of a precise answer. Okay, you need a precise answer rather than like a similar term. So it's just one of those advice or some test taking strategies also. So you see how important definition of terms are. Okay, so and then anyway we have some dedicated lecture also on evaluation or the M&E aspect of planning. Okay, so we go to 4.3, appraise the impact of projects, adopting the NEDA regional project monitoring systems or the RPMS, and recommend possible interventions for improvement. Actually, in this particular item, so NEDA's using RPMS, but I think there are more advanced evaluation tools already being used by NEDA. So, but we stick to this TOS, okay? 3.5%, there are 7 items under this. So the NEDA Regional Project Monitoring System provides tools and frameworks for assessing project impacts such as socioeconomic benefits, what else? Environmental sustainability and alignment with regional goals. So appraisals should include, because it says appraise the impact of projects, adopting the NEDA RPMS, and recommend possible interventions, okay, for improvement. So appraisals should include recommendations for improvement to enhance efficiency and effectiveness. So if the MCQ is, what's the primary purpose of the NEDA RPMS? Because it's very specific in 4.3, they did mention about RPMS, so most likely it will be given, right? So, and then it did mention it's 7 items there. So A, for example, so again, the question is, what's the primary purpose of NEDA RPMS? A, increase project cost to enhance quality. B, monitor and evaluate project impacts in regional context. C, replace local government monitoring efforts. I hope you're writing. And then D, develop nationwide business ventures. So you can eliminate already A, which is increase project cost, because the system, NEDA's RPMS is not about increasing project cost. And letter C is, we're not replacing any local government monitoring because it's already about NEDA, and so it's not about LGU. So you eliminate letter C, replace local government monitoring efforts. And letter D, develop nationwide business ventures. It's not nationwide because we need to be very conscious, or we need to be very focused on the context of the question or the keywords, because it says regional. Okay, so eliminate letter D. So what remained was the letter B, monitor and evaluate project impacts and regional context. And if you are already convinced about letter B, then you answer letter B, because the system, the RPMS in particular, is designed to monitor regional projects and assess their socioeconomic and environmental impacts. So, letter C. So, okay, let me just OMG. So it's until it's long, right? Very long. Where are we, Jen? So let me see, finish. Is it letter C? Okay. Land use planning. So what's letter D? Demand and supply. So I'll finish until land use planning because the next item is demand and supply of land for urban development. Yeah, I know I don't want you to be tired on a Saturday. So, but of course, yeah, this could be a form of building up momentum, right, James? Okay. So, letter
Yes,
C.
ma'am.
Yeah. So, letter C, land use planning. So, 30%. Okay. So who are on the, okay, just a moment. Let me see. So, Mary Joy is here. Mia, Jesmar is here also. Mia and Jesmar. Okay. Abu Handi. Rhea also. Norman is also here. So, okay. Let me continue that to build up the momentum. Number one is very important, letter C. Okay. Concepts of land and land use as viewed from the different perspectives by various sectors of society. Land use planning involves managing the utilization of land resources to meet the economic, social, environmental needs, and many more, okay, in a society. Perspectives on land use may differ among stakeholders, including local governments, private sectors, and communities, depending on their priorities, such as economic development. Is it environmental sustainability? Is it about social equity? So, number 1.1 there is identify the patterns and processes of land use change as a function of demographic and economic change. So 2% for items. But 4 items is 4 items, right? So this is, well, land use patterns, okay, evolve due to population growth. And then it also evolves based on how fast or how slow urbanization is within the locality. It also depends on it evolves also based on economic development, also on technological advances. For example, agricultural land might transform into residential or commercial areas to meet increasing urban demands. Recognizing these patterns helps planners anticipate future needs and challenges. So, a sample MCQ there could be, which of the following is an example of land use change driven by demographic growth? So, I already provided their keywords. Which of the following is an example of land use change? But this land use change is driven by something else. Just one of those factors that I've mentioned earlier, that I've mentioned a number there due to population growth, urbanization, economic, and etc. But the question is about driven by demographic growth. So A, conversion of forest into protected areas. B, agricultural land turned into housing subdivisions. C, establishment of industrial zones in rural areas. D, preservation of historical landmarks. So, How would you answer that? It's a land use change driven by demographic growth. So it did not mention about forests or protected areas, so eliminate that. And then agricultural land turned into housing subdivisions could be, let's skip that. Letter C, establishment of industrial zones in rural areas. It did not say anything about conversions or establishing these industrial zones. And then no mention also about letter D, like preservation of historical landmarks. So answer there is B, agricultural land turned into housing subdivisions. It did not mention about agricultural as well, but it's about demographic growth and it's a land use change. So that's the closest that we can get as an answer, because increased population typically leads to higher demand for housing, driving the conversion of agricultural land to residential use. So gagamitan natin siya ng logic. Okay? Otherwise, you can answer substantially without elimination. Okay? When you are indeed very, very sure about the answer that you want to pick. Because the answers are just from A to D. So don't overthink about the answer. Why not? It's not demographic. I'm not seeing demographic growth in the. Huwag mong hanapin yung wala. Maghanap ka lang doon sa meron, A, B, C, D lang. And don't overthink. And the reason why most of those who are not able to make it, because they overthink. Hinahanap nila yung wala sa choices. And then, that stresses them and succeed when answering succeeding questions and their brain already becomes tired, becomes stressed, and becomes clouded with doubt kasi hindi mo makita yung hinahanap mo. So why are you not being strategic? You need to be very strategic by looking answers from the 4 options only. Don't go outside the ABCD options. Ganun lang yon. Because taking the board exam is not actually the practice that we expect, because practice comes after passing the boards. Okay? So, dito lang muna. Dito sa pag-answer. And you need to master test-taking strategies. We need a lot of strategies here. And this TOS is such a guideline. Nandyan na nga, ano? Hindi ka natitingin ng iba. Ba't ka pa mag-answer ng mga old questions? Dito lang, you need just to understand these concepts. Diba? And then exceed your expectation. Like you only expect the board exam to be about definition of terms. You only expect about the step-by-step process. You need to fully understand the concept and relate it to another concept, and to the next. And it should all be available at your fingertips. Ganon. And so review comes in stages. From basic to, like when you're moving toward mastery, and then you take the board exam, and then you succeed, and then you top the boards. So, ganon yun. Well, not as easy as that. Like, you can say that, I forgot about that. Ano na yung ibig kong sabihin doon? Easier said than done, di ba? To top the board. But if you manifest it, I'm tapping the board because I'm listening to my coach, to my reviewer, di ba? And then if, for example, we did not meet for a particular day, and then your world should not stop, right? You need to have your own strategy also. Okay? So We go to 1.2, which is analyze the different systems of land classification. So it becomes more specific now. And land use classification systems, okay, and then land use classification and the salient features of each system. So that's 20% for items. So land classification systems categorize land based on its suitability for various uses, such as agriculture, forestry, urban development, conservation, and more. So understanding these systems ensures that land is used sustainably and efficiently according to its best potential. So I'd like to read again 1.2, analyze the different systems of land classification and land use classification and the salient features of each system. So under the Philippines land classification system, which type of land, so this is like an MCQ, which type of land is allocated for agricultural use? So easy, right? So just to make sure, I'm putting on some sample questions, basic sample MCQ under each item. So A and D, B, forest reserves, C, national parks, D, wildlife sanctuaries. Of course, you would answer A and D, because A and D lands are designated for what? Agricultural, residential, or commercial purposes, and can be privately owned, because it's asking about what type of land is allocated for agriculture. So even if yeah, just eliminate their things like that, but it could be more complex than that that question that I just asked. So I'm just making some, that allocated for agricultural use. So A and D, yeah, because there's just restrictions on all this B, C, and D, like forest reserves. So there are particular slope, which is required for that, and the national parks. So what's the main context of national parks? Wildlife sanctuaries, so what's the context of that? So we will be dealing with all those classification system when we go to the processes, techniques and strategies. Okay. So 1.3, I think we should end in 1.3 so that we can continue tomorrow. 1.3, otherwise I can no longer record, so we need this time. Okay. Because I think there are some who just misses the 9 p.m. and we need to rebuild again the 9 p.m. Otherwise, 9:50, 9:30, so hanggang dun lang, then I start. Wala na talagang papasok sa Zoom. So, 1.3, analyze the CLUP and zoning process. Saan na yan? Is it, Jen? Correct. Correct ako, no? So, analyze the CLUP and zoning process of local governments as mandated by law. So CLUP involves creating a roadmap, right, for local development based on zoning laws and regulations. But zoning helps allocate land for specific uses, ensuring organized and balanced growth while addressing environmental and socioeconomic concerns, among others. So, for example, what's the primary MCQ is, what's the primary purpose of zoning in land use planning? So, A, to encourage unrestricted development. So that's negative. So it should be positive, right? And to regulate the use of land to meet local development goals. Or C, to increase property taxes in urban areas. So that's kind of negative for some people. And letter D, to preserve the status quo in land distribution. So it's something like the most likely answer is, or the correct answer is to regulate the use of land to meet local development goals. So sometimes you would observe that all the rest are negative answer or negative tone. But because it's asking about the primary purpose of zoning in land use planning, so it should be positive. And if you're not really, and if you're what's this? If you're in that situation whereby parang it's so confusing. I don't know how to choose. So you can one of the strategies that could work is that when it's asking about a positive answer for a positive question, then all those negative you can eliminate. And so yeah, you can get the correct answer even if you don't know that. So zoning to regulate. Okay, answer is to regulate the use of land to meet local development goals because it's something very positive compared with other options. So zoning assigns land for specific use, right? So like a residential, commercial, industrial, sa buffer zones, etc., to ensure sustainable and organized growth. So for number two, I think I would like to end here so that I can continue tomorrow. So if you can come at 9, then I can continue so that we